Okay, welcome. This is our fellowship circle for April. It's April 29th, 2021. We were scheduled to talk about social media again, just like our March discussion. But, we have three individuals present who were already at that conversation. So we're going to have more of a freestyle, open it up for, really to talk about what you want to talk about, where we feel we can make a difference in the community or whatever's on your mind. I'd like to talk about some of the topics that came up last time, and maybe explore a couple different topics tonight, like, what will life be like after COVID? John, that was your suggestion. I'd like to talk about, having those emotionally intelligent conversations between conventional medicine and holistic medicine. Janelle, you came up with that idea. And Jamie came up with talking about, our motivation, our why we do things. So we might kick around a little bit of all of these topics tonight, and we might talk about social media. It doesn't matter. So what we normally do in these fellowship circles is we just introduce ourselves or reintroduce ourselves. Let us know what's coming up for you in your mind and in your heart at this moment. If there's anything keeping you from being fully present, I invite you to discuss that or bring that out if you want. And sometimes we just talk about a feeling or an emotion that we're feeling, at this moment. So at this moment, I will check in. I'm Mike Schumann. I've been facilitating these conversations now since December, and I'm feeling very grateful. We had a discussion over email that there wasn't any enrollments for tonight's conversation through the time bank. And my response was, that's perfectly fine with me. There were some reservations on my meetup site, and I don't mind at all keeping it small and keeping it intimate, and really talking about what's matters and keeping it personalized. So I'm feeling very grateful for you, John and Janelle and Jamie. Triple J's here. I'm feeling very grateful that the right people are always here at the right time, at the right moment. So with that, I'm in, and whoever would like to go next, feel free to do so.
I'm John. I'm grateful that we have I'm sorry, I hear somebody echoing in the background. No, I think we're good. So my name's John. I'm grateful we have a Fab Four here tonight, and I'm just grateful that I get to see us here together and to have a chance to spend some meaningful, productive time engaged in meaningful conversation on either the use of social media or on a wide range of topics. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's been a lot that's happened ever since our last fellowship circle, and there's a lot to talk about. So I'm glad we can come together tonight. And with that, I've checked in.
My name is Janelle, and I am on the board of the Phoenixville Area Time Bank. I'm on the Marketing and Communications Committee, and a lot of action going on, a lot of planning. And I guess I'm feeling just a little overwhelmed at this time. Next week is going to be just crazy for me. But overall, very grateful to talk about the topic, whatever topics come up here, and kind of check in with everyone. And hopeful that sometime in the future we can actually do this personally.
Great. Thank you, Janelle. And Jamie.
I'm Jamie. I'll check in. I guess that's me. I am also on the board of the Phoenixville Area Time Bank, a recent member. I think I've been voted in, but I'm not quite sure that that's totally official yet, as is everything kind of at the Phoenixville Time Bank. No, but it's really great. And John, we really do hope that you come and join us, and it'll be great if you could come to the event on Saturday. I know you said you were considering it, so that'd be awesome if you came. But anyway, I'm checking in. I'm like kind of burning the candle at both ends at the moment, because I've got my last 2 weeks of Cornell. I've got the new business that I started, the New Growth Marketing LLC. My kids are here. We're eating. Say hello. We're hungry. We've had school. Yeah, but I'm so grateful for this group. I'm so grateful for just all the new people that I've met and the new relationships I've made recently. It just feels, you know, I won't say overwhelming, but it feels like just overjoyous, like just like way more than I expected. It was my birthday. I know. It's over. You don't need to celebrate. And it was your birthday. I did have a lot going on. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right, Presley. I'm grateful to be here. I'm gonna be on mute, like I said, for while we're eating, and then I'll pop in more, you know, intently. Thanks, Janelle. I'll pop in more intently as you know, we go on, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where this conversation goes, given the four of us. So that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Well, happy belated birthday again, as well as that's great. Well, good. Let's do a second check-in then. And what we'll do is I'd like to ask the question, what has happened in the last week? And this might be something you might have seen on the news, or it might be a local thing, or it might be something in your own life. What is something that has happened in the last week that has inspired you? What's something that has inspired you? And what might it be inspiring you toward?
I guess I'll go first. In a way, I feel like there was some inspiration behind and it's raining very hard outside here. There was some inspiration behind the verdict in the Chauvin trial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, perhaps it gave people a sense of hope that perhaps we could move more toward racial justice in our country. Although it's not really, I don't know if it was a complete, if it was a complete justice in a complete sense, just other than the sense that a person was held accountable for a person in power was held accountable for abusing someone in his care. But, you know, there's that kind of, it represents kind of this, maybe there is some hope on the horizon that perhaps we can move towards, coming to, justice and racial reconciliation, but I still think there's a long way to go, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to the table, John. I'd like to talk a little bit about that as we move on as well too. So great, thank you. Yeah. So the question is something in the last week. It could be an event that you might have seen in the news, or something in your own life. What has inspired you this past week?
I'll go. I'm really inspired by the people who are stepping up in all of the circles that I've worked in. I've seen the Time Bank like really step into some really cool things that we're working on, and people that I never expected would come to the table have come to the table. I just love how much people care. I'm seeing a lot of like caring, and especially John, like bravo for bringing that up, because you inspire me by like just keeping on top of everything and just making sure that you're like right in it and really there. It's just really, it's amazing to see all the people around who are just ready to step up. And so I've seen a lot of like activity happening behind the scenes that is really, it's inspiring and it's great. It's like everyday people who just really care.
I guess I'll chime in. And I know John was was there with me on the Zoom presentation, but Blacklight projects had a really interesting Zoom presentation. I guess Teresa Thornton presented,
Great.
and it was really interesting. Mike, I don't know if you were able to join in,
Mhm.
but yeah, there were.
I was
close
not.
to-
I would like to know about it. I asked her how it went afterwards, but I couldn't be there. And I really wanted to be there. So what did you get, Janelle?
Well, I think there were over 30 people there that logged in. It was really interesting. I thought, not even like just the sheer information about like these people in Phoenixville I never knew like were like pillars of the community that did such interesting things. Aside from Teresa's, what is it, her brother, John, who was the baseball player.
Yes, her brother
Her
Andre.
brother, yeah, Andre. I couldn't remember if it was her brother or her uncle or whatnot. But yeah, but just the amount of information that was presented and the information that they're collecting,
Mhm.
it's an enormous project, and it's really interesting. But also, what was interesting to me was how many. Um, I hate to be racial about this, but the amount of uh, I'm gonna say it wrong, and I please apologize right now. White people that
Mhm.
attended versus just the Caucasians versus the
Mhm.
it was really interesting to see that many people interested in what she's doing and what they're trying to accomplish and want
Well,
to
mostly white attended.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, well, Phoenixville is predominantly white.
White. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's inspiring that they're doing something like this that could, and they talked about this in the presentation. If they start it, maybe Westchester can do it. Maybe like other communities can start doing this as well if it all works out, and have like a a spider web effect.
Cool. So Janelle, what exactly is the project, and what is the goal of the project?
John, help me out. Sorry.
I was on the call on Monday.
Yeah,
However, I was like multitasking. So,
yeah,
but I think the point of Blacklight projects is to highlight
I
the
knew.
African American community in the
yeah,
Phoenixville area and their
right.
contributions to the Phoenixville area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One of the things I got out of that presentation is that although I directly associate Blacklight projects with Teresa Thornton,
Mhm.
I didn't know how many other volunteers
right.
in the community were involved with it.
Yeah, yeah,
From
So,
various churches and various
yep,
people, and
yep.
so
it was
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going, and I'll say.
yeah. I was going to make a suggestion that that if we when we talk, we just speak uninterrupted and not interrupt one another. It makes the conversation, I think, flow a little bit more fruitfully. So
Okay.
maybe I think it might, if Mike wants, since Mike, I think, is our facilitator, I just
Right.
think, I just wanted to throw that suggestion up there. It's up to
Yeah.
him whether or not he wants to follow through with that.
Oh, certainly.
But yes.
I go down.
Okay. Um, but yes, that's my I guess my hunch as to what it's about is that it's basically basically it's an attempt to highlight the African American community in Phoenixville and their
And
contributions over the years, and put their put themselves on the map, and to basically it's like the whole community is involved and not just Teresa. That's a thing that was surprising to me the most.
Yeah. And also, like, way down the line, they're looking at like opening, if they can find the space to do it too, like a museum to highlight, these people and whatnot. But yeah, John, I was like awed because she has her fingers in so many different things, to see that she has such a great support system, is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, sorry I interrupted. Where I'm like scattered right now, so I apologize for that. And also the kids were kind of talking. I think that affected things too. So no, what I wanted to say is I've been working with Teresa Thornton behind the scenes. She's actually one of the people that I've connected with, and she has an organization. She has a Black Life Project, which, John, you're absolutely right on, is that she has shared the previous presentation with me, which very similar, had lots of a lot of her family members, but also additional people that they want to highlight, because the Black, they're saying that it's like lighting up their experiences, shining light on their experiences and shining light on their achievements, so that they can be recognized as local town heroes. And I'm sure because of what's happened in the past, where people of color were not recognized, so they were marginalized and not recognized like white people were. So I think the intent is to start and I think this is happening in other cities too, is where people are looking at where have we marginalized, and then can we go back, kind of almost back in time, to make that, to shine light on them too, to make them part of the history. So I think that that's really, really important. So that, I think, is the reason. I think that's the impetus behind why they did it. And so I agree with you, John, on that. And then the other thing is I've been working with Teresa on a group called the Black Alumni and Allies Association. It's called BA3. And it's a group of young Black people. Most right now it's three young men who are starting it, who have graduated from Phoenixville area high school, and I think that two of them are out of college, and the other one is working, and so they're all like trying to get alumni from these local schools to form a Black alliance, but they want white people involved too. And I recently met with them to do their mission, vision, values, and they were actually one of the best groups I worked with, because they were like totally open, hadn't really started anything, and we got to this really amazing place. And Teresa says they're really energized, and so it's my mission as the self-appointed diversity committee chairperson at the Time Bank to get more members of the Time Bank are diverse like that. And so I did mention to them that, and Teresa did too, that she was paying for me for that time in Time Bank hours, such that they could experience that, and they are looking into becoming Time Bank members at the moment. So that's a whole full circle thing. I just wanted to make everybody aware that that's like I'm glad you did a second check-in, Mike, because that is exactly what is so inspiring to me, is all these people who are up now because of, what we've been shown in our media situation. So, and that also brings back to social media conversation of what is happening out there that's causing all of this social change. You want to say something too? What? I did a lot of talking, he says. Yes, I'm going to be quiet now.
No, I think everybody's holding up their end of this conversation very well. Yeah, no, to piggyback on top of all of that too, there are two major events that have been going on in my life that relate to this. After the Chauvin trial, in the weeks, the week after that, I've been having a lot of conversations. I've been approached to become part of the Suicide Prevention Council in New Jersey. And one of the things that we talked about was that there is very inadequate healthcare for law enforcement. They're not allowed to say that they're not allowed to express their emotions. They're not allowed to say they're feeling suicidal. They're not allowed to say any of this, or they'll lose their jobs. And I often question to myself, not having any kind of any kind of sympathy or empathy whatsoever. I wonder how that kind of environment causes law enforcement to make those snap decisions like that, where they have to be aggressive, or they have to they're forced into a position where they have to take a life, or they feel like they have to do that, or to be tough, or to be menacing, because they're not getting any sympathy or empathy whatsoever from a mental health professional. They'll lose their jobs if they do. So that's one of the things we've been talking about a lot, as far as on the mental health side of things. And I have a friend that I talk to at least once a week from Nigeria, who is very vocal about really global racism. So we see a portion of it here, with our history in the United States, but also kind of how global economics really suppresses, the populations in Africa. So we've been talking about that on a podcast. Another friend of mine and I have been talking about addressing global bullying, global gang stalking through social media as well. And once we started talking about that over Zoom, this just happened in the last 24 hours. A lot of the research, a lot of the links that she refers to about how global bullying, global bullying happens, to kind of suppress the voices of those who are trying to stand up and speak out against global suppression, global racism. All of those links have been pulled. They've been censored, and they've been pulled off the internet. So it's kind of like a form of gaslighting. So that kind of works into all of what we're talking about here tonight with social media, with racial justice, and everything. So I've been inspired by those conversations because yes, we have a long way to go, like you said, John. But I think the first step is having conversations like these, and I definitely believe it's important, to have those spaces, to hold those spaces for us to, to kind of check in and, really see, what we're learning, learn from each other, and encourage others to, to partake in that. So that's what's been inspiring me this week, is that people are stepping forward, reaching out globally, not just locally, but I've had somebody from Vermont reach out to me recently. We're starting to have more conversations with other Nigerians as well, about having conversations like this on how to turn around economic suppression, because economics is very much weaponized, and we're seeing that on a global level, and how that trickles down into our local communities as well. So so that's what's coming up for me in the moment with my second check-in. And with that, I'm in again. Yeah. So let's do this. I invite each member here tonight to ask a question, and we'll discuss. We'll have a discussion around a question, and we'll give each of us a turn. We've got an hour here, so we'll dedicate 15 minutes to each person's question. So I want you to think about that for a moment. I'm going to think about it too, because I'm not sure what I want to ask yet. Okay, I have one. Okay. So I'll give you a few more minutes to think about that. And when you have your question, just kind of raise your hand or put something in the chat so that once everybody has their question, we will proceed. And since this is recorded, if someone's watching this right now and watching the recording, I will entertain everybody by humming the Jeopardy theme. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Who will the next host be? Do do do. Okay, Janelle's got her question. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Now now now. Jamie's dancing. Down bow 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 bow. Oh, my son's in the next room. He could pretend to play drums to this. Okay, great. Thanks, John. Okay, cool. So, Jamie, do you have a question at this point?
Ooh, I do.
Okay, great. All right. So John put his in the chat and Janelle put the thumbs up. So let's start with John's question. What are your hopes and concerns about life once the pandemic is behind us? That's a great question because that's what we're going to be discussing next month too. So we can kind of prepare here for next month. So what are your hopes and concerns about life once the pandemic is behind us? Hopes and concerns. My honest answer to that, John, is I don't think the pandemic is ever going to be behind us. I think it's going to change us forever. And I think that's a good thing. My concern is that, you know what? My hope is that we really take this time, to begin to appreciate what has developed and what has evolved in this time. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that's a concern, but this might sound a little bit contrary, but I don't think we're ever going to get past the pandemic psychologically, and that's not a bad thing. It's my thoughts.
I also believe that there are certain things about this pandemic that we're not going to be able to get past. I mean, at least all of us are doing our part with the vaccinations and stuff like that. I mean, and I can speak to also that we've seen the best of both worlds. I shouldn't say the best of both worlds. We've seen kind of like the best in people and the worst in people. We've seen the people who are the helpers and the ones who really go out of their way to try to help people out during this time while, obeying safety protocols. But we also see people that are highly selfish in, wanting to have everything opened up, not willing to wear masks, not willing to get vaccinating, kind of in that boat thinking that COVID is a hoax, so to speak. And so I guess in a way, it really, I mean, it's just there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, it's like we've been in the wilderness for so long, and now we're coming out of it. We're starting to see kind of a break in the wilderness, a path to daylight again. But you see, what's in that daylight is unknown. It's just I can't say for sure. It's just that the unknowing of what is going to, I mean, because I think people's character was tested during this time. Some people passed and other people didn't do very well. just thinking about what will a sense of normalcy look like? Will it be the same? Will we have to always be wearing masks when we're around people? Can we hug one another again and have contact with one another again? It's just, the interpersonal relationships part is also a question. But at the same time, I just have to honestly, I honestly have to say that, it's just we're heading into unknown territory, and I'll just, hold my comments there.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to one thing to that, John. Yeah, a lot of the people who have different beliefs about what COVID is and all of that. Yeah, I do. I have seen and observed a lot of selfishness, but I have also seen a lot of resistance that is in a way admirable. I mean, I'm one of those people who, I wear the mask and I got the vaccine and all that, but I do believe that there was an element of engineering behind COVID. I don't think it's a hoax by any means, but I do think that there was an element of engineering and social engineering that that this conflict between people who have different opinions. It's kind of been engineered to escalate and to create more conflict and controversy. And yeah, that's just what I've been observing. Yes, I've been observing a lot of selfishness on both sides of the issue, but I've also been seeing a lot of healthy disagreement with it as well too.
One thing I'd like to bring up is that also there's such a thing now as vaccine and mask shaming out of this whole thing. My mom's best friend actually succumbed to getting her vaccine because her friends didn't want to be around her and didn't want to have her around anyone else. So peer pressure is a really strong motivator.
Yeah.
It can be good for good and bad, but in this case, I think it was hopefully a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I've seen the opposite. Someone that I know thinks that this is a hoax and refuses to wear a mask. And every time they want to speak with me, they want to inch a little bit closer, and I keep inching a little bit away.
Yeah.
It's very eye-opening to see where people stand on this. And the other thing was, I guess my biggest concern is, with the pandemic, telehealth has been a really good thing that's come out of this. When we come out of, we're not going to come out of this for some time, but what happens when they say, okay, well, we're all well enough, we don't need telehealth anymore? That's kind of scary. I mean, you get used to something that's beneficial, and then, I'm sure the insurance companies will, retract it at some point. For us to get back to, yeah, it's a really good point too, John. What will the face-to-face, the interaction and things be like, when we get to be together again?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Janelle. Yeah. And Jamie, do you want to speak to John's question here?
I do. So I agree with all of what you guys are saying in terms of this will not be easily going away anytime soon. I do believe that this time specifically, people are being called to almost choose. It's like you can't, there was a moment in time, I think, where people there's a saying, actually, we use it in the course sometimes, that I helped teach before the pandemic, which is like a life coaching environment. And we talked about the Karate Kid movie where, do you guys know the Karate Kid? Is everyone familiar? Okay.
Yeah.
So like, Mr. Miyagi has this saying where he says, left side of road safe, right side of road safe, down middle, squash like grape.
Mhm.
And I think there's been a lot of middle walking
Yeah.
done prior to the pandemic. But now that the pandemic is here and also has highlighted like all these things that are kind of supersized in terms of their impact, such as Black Lives Matter, environmental issues, which some people still believe is a hoax, things like that. I think more and more you're seeing people stand on one side of the road or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important because I think that is the part of the pandemic that I think is here to stay, where you've got people really questioning, well, what do I believe and where am I on that spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
And can I powerfully stand in my views and still have, the friends I want to have or the people I want to be in contact with? And I think that's a really big human question.
Yeah.
Like Janelle said, I've got a friend who I just keep inching away from. My main client is an older gentleman who dines in restaurants, and he took me today to a restaurant, and I told him, he said, are you going to wear your mask the whole time? I said, except when I'm eating. And I said, because I'm indoors and I'm not, and even if I'm outdoors, I'm probably doing the same thing. But I'm feeling almost forced to be eating inside, and I don't want to be. But because I'm making money in this environment, I've got to walk a line, and I'm not particularly comfortable with that. But I did tell him, I said, I'm not comfortable with eating inside. If we do eat inside, we will sit really far away from people. And if that's what you're insisting on, he's older, and outside today was very muggy and warm. And he was like, I can't do it for health reasons. So it was like, where do you draw your lines is the question. So anyway, that's where I am with, I hope I answered that. I think post pandemic, if I'm answering the question directly, I would say that I think that for the better, for the what was the question? Hopes and dreams.
What are your hopes and concerns about life once the pandemic is behind us?
Yeah, I think people are really faced with choices differently, and have to. That's what I think is, and it depends how you look at what you're hopeful for. To see more people go to one side of that center place, I'm more hopeful to see people choose powerfully what they believe and what they want. And I'm looking forward to attracting better clients. So if you guys can help me with that, that'd be great. The fortunate thing is this guy has money and he's valuing me. I got a very nice paycheck this week, but I'd really like to start, working for things that are much more meaningful to me.
Yeah, very good. All right. Who would like to offer the next question, Janelle or Jamie?
I guess I can go. I guess my question is, well, if you're like me and you're not very tech savvy, how do you jump in and learn all these different media panels and keep up with it all? I mean, it to me, it just seems like I would be spending 24/7 looking at these different things. How do you become engaged but know the at what point to step away?
It's a good question. Great question. Yeah. So it can be very time consuming to learn different platforms, learn different, ways of communicating on social media or online. So how do you know what boundaries to set really about where you where you draw the line into how much you do it or how much you dedicate to learning it. I'm going to jump in right away as well. Jamie knows this about me. I've recently come to an understanding on how big tech business plans work and how they use, how social media is used to sell, to market, and how they bring in psychological experts to kind of put you in certain emotional states before they pop an ad out in front of you and all of that. And because of that, it's almost like they're guiding you towards people who are going to push your buttons or guiding you towards content that are going to really push your buttons. And one of the information that I came up with recently and that I found through my own research is that 33,000 people die a day from starvation in impoverished conditions. And so that the business plan of big tech, which is some of the richest businesses in the world right now, that I came to my own conclusion that the more time I spend in trying to learn this stuff or trying to, get into the complications of it, is really killing people, because those people who are dying of starvation, they're not being helped. I function on a couple different platforms, but I try to bring the conversation to a human level and not so much about a tech level. So for me, where I draw the line is when I start to feel myself getting emotionally triggered. I start to, even if it's frustration with learning a system, or if it's just a frustrating conversation with someone who I've been engineered to kind of be interacting with, I kind of have got it in my mind now that every time I get lost in that, I'm actually taking a life, because 33,000 people a day are still dying of starvation because these businesses are not doing anything to help those people. Or I can step away and be grateful that I was not emotionally sucked in. And that's, to me, that's kind of saving a life. So it's all in how, your intention behind using it. So what I heard in your question, Janelle, is how do you know when it's beneficial or when it's not so beneficial? I think if somebody is helping you learn it, and the relationship is positive, I think it's a very positive thing. It's a very good thing. But I think, that's what comes up for me in considering your question, because it's a whole nother world, and I think it's a world that's designed to be complicated, to kind of extract, attention. But I think I think my answer would be, keep it simple. Who are the people that care about you and who you care about? And simplicity is good. I mean, if it's something as simple as just like Facebook and having a conversation one-on-one with someone, what more do you really need?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Facebook account. I just don't really use it much.
Yeah.
I have accounts on places like LinkedIn and like these different platforms, but jumping in and actually using them is like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, how do I use these to, reconnect with people
Mm-hmm.
that I don't typically connect with?
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing I might mention here is Jamie is going to be with Transition Town. Jamie's going to be leading us in a conversation about I think hashtags, but there's a lot of social media involved with that. Oh, you're not? I'm shaking your head no.
Okay.
I'm going to teach how to use hashtags effectively, but I also am going to give a training on Instagram and how to use it.
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually going to bring this up at the end because I was super curious to see what John McDevitt said, because he's like the social media expert. I was going to advise one and wait until that very end to say something. So I'll my turn. I would really like to hear what the rest of you guys have to say.
Sounds good.
What is hashtagging? Okay, I just showed.
Yeah, I can answer that really quick. So hashtags are like search terms. Wait, not now. Off. Hashtag Oh my God. And, you know, my kids, I gotta give them credit. They help out after meals because, you know, it's just me here. So it's like, I have them wipe the table and do the vacuuming. And I told Evan while I wasn't talking to do that. So he wasn't wrong. No, I'm saying turn it off. I'll tell you to do it after I get off mute. So hashtags, like ways to search certain topics that people care about. So like when you are taking a picture of something, Janelle, like say you went to a horse farm and you took some pictures or something that you really enjoy. You could write hashtag horses, hashtag horse farm, hashtag I love horses, whatever. And then anyone who also hashtagged that, you'll be able to see all of their posts. And it's a way for you to like really connect with people who have shared interests. Does that make sense?
Is that only on Instagram or is that like Twitter or like?
Started on Instagram. It was an Instagram thing. It's made for Instagram, but then people just naturally, as people tend to do, did their own thing and decided to use it in Facebook and use it in Twitter and everywhere they can think. Like it's kind of a joke. It's like, you know, someone has like my shoe got untied. Oh, you know, small hashtag small problems, you know, and then everybody got like hashtag small, you know, or inconvenient problems or whatever. And it's like, then you kind of, like, people just do that joke anyway, anything they say, even some people just say that, you know, hashtag whatever. It really has adapted, but it was originally an Instagram thing. And Town is really interested in learning how to use hashtags to their advantage, which is why the presentation is skewing that way. But I'd really like to do is educate them on how to use Instagram effectively, which does, you know, require hashtags. So, so I was going to suggest if you wanted to learn Instagram, I'm going to do that, and it's free, or it will cost.
I saw that. I think I signed up.
Yeah.
Possibly. And
So,
is the transition town the same as the Altair Village, or is that
No.
two different things?
different. Yeah.
However, Altair is one of our partnering organizations. So
I'm
one of our partners for transition. So
I'm sorry. I get confused.
No, it is overwhelming, Janelle. It is overwhelming, all of the groups and all of the platforms and everything. And that's why I think it just comes back to, you know, developing relationships. You know, it's like the social media use grows out of the relationships. A lot of times the relationships get damaged if it's an outgrowth of the social media use. But yeah, I'm done talking about that for now because I want to hear from John too. Would you like to ask your question again, Janelle?
What was it? If you're not very tech savvy, how do you get up to date with social media outlets? I can put it in the chat.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
can I ask Janelle to ask the question again?
I'm typing it into the chat.
Okay.
We'll see how she phrases it, but I think it's something along the lines of, if you're not very tech savvy, how do you use social media, or how do you navigate social media?
Well, as I talked about last month, I use social media both personally so I can connect with others and you know, the fantastic people in my life. I also manage to kind of be the admin, the head admin for numerous Facebook pages of groups that I'm involved with, notably Diversity in Action and Transition. And then that allows me to get the word about events and other community happenings out to the public, and so that the public can know about it and take part. And I mean, and in that sense, that could be very rewarding, because if you want people to come out and like support like a cause like Black Lives Matter, or come to, like, we do the We Are vigils twice a month on Zoom and also on the corner of Bridge and Main Street. It lets people know, if you post an event, it lets people know it's happening. We'd love to have you come and join us as we speak out in support of Black lives. And so that's the rewarding, the rewarding part of it is, it gives you a public presence so that people can follow you and take advantage of your opportunities. Especially, when it comes to like the organizational, personal, it's rewarding for me because, yes, I do get to get in contact with some really amazing connections that I've made over the years, as well as family and friends, old friends. And, and that's kind of the amazing part about it, is that you can connect with somebody you knew 30 years ago. They're on there, and you can friend them and get reconnected with, reacquainted. But again, there's the other side of it. And for me is interpreting people's posts, especially when, they're not so pleasant, so to speak, whether they're, because one of the things they have to realize is when you read a post, you're only reading words. You're not reading the underlying tone or the underlying, you're not reading any other form of communication other than what they wrote. So, so sometimes it's easy to assume, make a judgment about it, and sometimes it, if that judgment is negative, it can lead, to uncomfortable back and forths with people, and it can, it can create, that uncertainty, that unknowing of how to read through, a person's points, especially in posts about newspaper articles and, and other links to political stuff, and especially when someone is, it's easy to get the impression someone's being combative with their words. So, you want to get back at them, the idea that you want to own them in a sense, in order to try to, to get them to stop. Yeah. But again, it's not easy to know where that person is coming, where it's easy to, fall into the trap. That's a trap that's easy to fall into, is reading, a post that, it's easy to, that might make it easy to interpret as nasty. So I'll leave my answer there.
Okay. I'm going to answer your question really directly. Okay, Janelle? Okay, because I'm qualified to do that. So, here's the answer. Ask a time bank member. And you just did, and I'd be happy to spend an hour with you, and you can tell me what it is that your desires are, what you'd like to learn. And I can also, if you don't know what you'd like to learn, because we don't know what we don't know, then I can go through like the 4 or 5 major platforms that are out there, and I can give you a little dabble in each one, and then you can tell me if that's something you're interested in. How does that sound? Okay.
Sounds good.
That's the answer to your question, right? Was that the answer you were looking for? I seriously, I could break it down and make it super easy for you to understand. And I'm not a really technical person either, but I'm very social. So I have my thing on every kind of platform you can imagine. You can find me on. And it, in the end, it does seem, in the beginning, it seems really overwhelming because there's so much of it. in the end, it's like, oh, well, that's that, and that's that, and that's that. And you just kind of know what things are. So once you get like a dabble in each one, you'll be fine. And you are way more technical than you think you are, because I could not have put together that spreadsheet you put together for the Great Relate. I could not have done that. So you did way better than I could have done with that.
Well, I'm still sifting through. Thank you for.
Well, I'm still waiting for people to call me back, but I did make all my calls that day after you and I talked. You inspired me. So anyway, and with that, I'm going to ask my question.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that how this game works, Mike?
Yeah, we're taking 15-minute increments. So it would be your turn for your question.
All right. So thanks, John. Okay. So the question is, what are one or two qualities of each person on this call that you admire? So I'll go first. I admire myself for being really open to what new people in my life have to say, and being really with them and enjoying all the different perspectives that we have in the world. I really admire that about myself. I admire Mike for his commitment, undying commitment to making a difference in the world. That's really huge. And it's something that we definitely bond over. And so I'm grateful for that relationship with you. And I'm really also very grateful for your stand and your commitment to just make things better for everybody you come in contact with. And I also really acknowledge you for your vulnerability that you put out there, and that you put it out on this call, which is really brave. And I've seen you put it out on other calls we've had. So I am really, I admire you very much for that. I admire John McDevitt's ability to just, and that is why I waited for his answer, to connect with people on this sort of amazing level on social media, to make people feel like you are, like they're in the room with you. Like, it's not like there's no screen between you and them. It's really, it was like when I saw you at the Black Lives Matter, it was like, oh, there's John. It's like, you know, you're just alive and vibrant there, and you are here too. And I appreciate that very much about you. And I love getting your daily updates on food, because that's just really fun to know what we're, you know, chowing down on, because we're both foodies. So that's pretty cool. So thank you for that. And Janelle, oh my goodness, I am so inspired by you. Every time I talk to you, I'm like, I'm taken to a new level. It's really true. I don't think, you know, like, yeah, I haven't met anyone like you before. You're just really unique. And I'm really inspired by your ability to just jump in and handle something, even if you're not quite sure how to do it. You're like, I'll do my best. And then your best ends up being brilliant. So I hope you know that. And I really look forward to a blossoming friendship with you, because that is something I feel that's developing, and I would like to continue with that. So with that said, I move it to the next person.
Okay, I think I'll go now. This is a wonderful question, Jamie. All right. Janelle, I admire your bravery. I really admire your bravery. Because when asking about something that you're not quite sure about, and that you're still discovering, that takes incredible bravery. So I admire that. I also admire your consistency and your persistence. We talked about this back in January, where it was just you, Teresa, and I on that call, and you show up. You're persistent, and that's something that I would go so far as to say that only 1 out of 100 people really have that kind of persistence and that kind of motivation. So you're really you're a doer. You really are a doer, and that's rare. It's rare. John, I love the depth of your thought. I love how deep you think. I very much admire that about you. I admire your passion for justice. very much upon, your persistence with justice. And yeah, I've been seeing that and noticing that a lot. So yeah, so that's the two things that I've been noticing about you. Jamie, I've known you for a short time, and I've told you this before. In many ways, you've changed my life. So I love your persistence to get underneath the surface and find the why. And that's that's been life changing, and I'm still unpacking all of that. I'm still unpacking all of that. I also appreciate that you've been in certain situations that that not a lot of people have been in, like with Landmark and with some of these these schools of thought. So that's rare. I tend to those people tend to find me, or I tend to find those people, and I'm very grateful that you've done the work to really go underneath the surface and have compelling conversations and compelling results. What I admired about myself is my adaptability. It's the kind of thing where I spent the first 40 years of my life wanting to achieve and attain, but I've had to adapt and be open and curious. So what I appreciate about myself is the ability to adapt, to change, and to look at my shortcomings honestly. I admire my ability to really reflect on some of the I wouldn't say mistakes, but experiences where I wasn't living completely up to my authenticity, and being with that and understanding that, and finding the deep emotion behind that. So that's what I admire about myself. That's me.
I guess if John's not ready, I guess I'll go next. Um, unless you want to go last. Or if you want to go next, John, I can go last.
I need time to think about it, Janelle.
Okay. No problem. I see the wheels turning. Okay, let's see. I'll start with Jamie. Jamie, I haven't known you long, but you are like a booster shot to the time bank and to most everybody I know. Like the energy that just pours off you, even through like Zoom meetings, it's infectious, and I mean that in the best possible way. um,
So far, you said booster shot and infectious. I'm just pointing that out. It's okay.
it sounded better in my head. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I love it.
I mean it in the best possible way. I think I need a minute.
I love your humor too, Janelle.
I do. I love that you did that. That was awesome. I'm like, James, new COVID, the positive COVID that's taking over the nation.
Now that I've embarrassed myself horribly, Mike, I really admire your strength of character and your insight, and your courage to put these on. I mean, it takes a lot of energy and commitment to do these monthly gatherings. Sometimes we have the four of us tonight. We've had set of 3, and other times, we have a whole big group.
Mhm.
But it takes time and planning and commitment.
Mm.
And I admire all of that.
Mm.
And John, I really don't know you that well. I hope to get to know you better. But what I've seen so far is your, I guess I would say you have a great commitment to the many organizations that you're a part of and that you help. Just showing up, and even the 1 or 2 that I've seen you at, that I've been at, it's like, oh, I actually know somebody here. It's a really good feeling to be in a large group and find out, oh, there's someone there that I actually recognize. So I hope, whether it be through the time bank or through other avenues, I can get to know you better. And I guess for myself, I have a great capacity to put my foot in my mouth. um, but I guess to some extent, I am somewhat brave. Um, I don't I don't really see myself as being brave, but now and again, I guess I do.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe not to a great extent, but it's the little things. But thank you.
Well, I'm actually a little distracted right now. I actually have the TV on. I'm watching the NFL draft is tonight, so it just started, and the commissioner of the NFL is making an announcement. So let me take my turn now, and I'll start with Mike. For the I think during the several months that I've known you, Mike, I think the 2 highest qualities I could think of you is, number 1, your creativity, and your leadership, and 2, your leadership in facilitating these conversations and fellowship circles that we have, and for bringing us all together in a meaningful way. So thank you. For Janelle, um, I don't. As I will also admit that I don't know you that well. I recently met, so you're relatively new to me. But I will say, for one, I appreciate very much your commitment to showing up for things like these, and also your willingness, I think, to make yourself I would say it's for your willingness to make yourself vulnerable at times, because sometimes like with the comment, I mean, which I thought came out kind of, which was pretty funny actually. Um, that willingness to sometimes, to make, to speak those, those things that sometimes it's, I guess, that willingness to make yourself vulnerable in trying to express yourself. I think that's probably the best way um, um, I could describe. And Jamie, I appreciate you for your willingness to want to include me, and for your um, um, your also your involvement, and your getting influencing me to join the time bank. and and those and let me just take a minute. I don't know if there were two qualities that I just said, but that um, but taking a step back, but I appreciate your willingness to be inclusive and want me to be a part of of such a worthwhile organization in the Time Bank. And I appreciate the fact that you also have interest in the community at large and want to get more involved. So I think, not to mention you also have have your social media presence on with the Instagram and Facebook, and also want to be part of that as well. But thank you for all you do. Now to myself. I mean, this is a hard one. And that's why I needed time to think about it. But I would say, I think the first thing that I appreciate is the desire to want to be connected with people, whether virtually or in person, just to be around, just to be in the presence of others in a meaningful way. And two, my commitment to wanting to devote my life to volunteerism, so I can collectively work, go to the community and be around others, and engage with others in a common goal, whether it's whether it's a project, or whether it's protesting, or making your voice heard, just engaging in a sense of being being in the community, in the presence of others, and being my willingness to commit myself to volunteerism. So I think those are probably my top two. But thank you all, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. It's such a great question. One of the groups that I'm working with right now, they have a series of 6 different conversations, and the first one is the appreciation conversation, where you just you acknowledge what it is that you appreciate about each other. So thank you, Jamie. That was very powerful. Thank you, Janelle and John. Very powerful.
It's almost like I've done this kind of work before.
Almost. Yeah.
I think that was wonderful. I think everybody did really well, and I appreciate all the thought that was put into it. So thank you.
My question, in the last 10 minutes that we have here, I want to invite you to reflect on, what have you accomplished in the last hour that might surprise you? I mean, this time was meaningful. It was meaningful to me. And if you take a moment to really reflect on the last hour and a half now, what have you accomplished? What have you accomplished that might even surprise you if you dig a little deeper?
I'm surprised at my ability to multitask, honestly. Like, I know you guys have been watching me do this, but like, I really am very engaged in the conversation. But it's also like, I've put dinner on the table, and I've got dishes done, and I'm putting out vitamins for the next week. And like, I'm actually kind of in awe, because I wasn't sure how this was going to go. As to what I've been able, like, because I worked a pretty full day today, and I'm not used to working a full, like, day. And then coming home, and I still have coursework to do and other things. And I'm like, how is everything going to get done? But I think it just goes to show that if you're really intentional about, and you set your mind to something that you know is going to happen, no matter what, at the end of the day, like, this will happen, and you don't know how, right? But it's going to happen, and you just believe it, then everything will get done, And I think that's something that I often surprise myself in this regard, Mike. I'm glad you asked that question because it presences me to the fact that people always say to me, how do you get so much done? Like, how are you in like these 5 places at one time? And I don't think it's just my energy. I think it's, and my stamina. I think it's also the ability to really be present with a conversation or with people, despite the fact that I've got, you know, a million other things going on, but being really in that. And knowing that at the end of the day, having that real intentionality, like this will happen, this has to happen, you know, as a single mom, and I've been put through the ringer, as Mike knows, over the last 3 years, and my life has completely changed. I got divorced, my mom got divorced, like the whole, it's been crazy. It's been a crazy life. Not at all what I expected, but I'm here now and I've got to deal with this. So it really is like still being able to make the difference in the world that I want to make and be there for my children. And I think that does set the example for them. So I'm pretty feeling very empowered after this call. So thank you, Mike, really for having it and asking that question. That's a great question.
Yeah, this one takes a little reflection, doesn't it? Yeah, another tough one. Yeah. I'm still working on my answer. Yes, I can, Janelle. What have you accomplished in the last hour and a half? That might even surprise you if you dig just a little deeper over what just happened in the last hour.
Can I say also, while they're thinking,
Mhm.
I think Janelle attracted someone who can help her with a question that she's probably had on her mind for a while.
Aha.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think John also did the multitasking thing and was also willing to like admit where it didn't work for him and be able to say this, you know, I'm kind of half here, half not, and I need to be responsible for that. So I think John was really responsible around what he needed. So I'm giving you guys some things I noticed about the two of you that I think was really very cool. And Mike, you created this conversation. So there's all of that too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. My surface answer, and I'm still digging for my deeper answer. My surface answer is we filled this hour and a half, just the 4 of us, no problem whatsoever. So it's kind of, that's a huge accomplishment. And I think we role modeled how a mutually give and take conversation can be. And I think that's very powerful. Okay, that's my answer. Yeah. I think what we've accomplished, well, I can take credit for creating the space, but I think what we've accomplished is how easy it is to fill an hour and a half with meaningful discussion, you know, and yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Proud of you guys. So proud of you all. Yeah, but like Jamie said, John, you were present to it. You came here and you were present to it, and you were honest about it. I mean, I think that's powerful. Mhm. 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 I think John's still multitasking.
Yeah, the first pick in the draft was just made, so
Oh.
so yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to hop off in like 3 minutes. So I just wanted to presence everybody to that. And I want to say thank you again before I go. And if you guys are looking for something great to do next, Jonathan Yatsky is on Facebook. He does Facebook Lives. I follow him every Monday and Thursday. He's really, really cool. He's a local therapist, and he's an excellent friend. And he has Thoughtful Thursdays from 8:30 to 9 on Facebook. And he's great and interactive. And he gives me like a boost for an entire week just by watching this half hour. So if you guys are interested, there's that. That's what I'm going to at 8:30. So.
And he does that movie group on Tuesdays, right?
Monday, Movie Club Monday. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's with him and his wife. They do that, Jonathan and Sophie.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I guess I forgot in the last hour and a half, yeah, I guess putting myself out there again with just, what I don't know, and looking for that support so that I can become more knowledgeable and help even more, maybe. Yeah. But that willingness to want to learn is kicking in again.
To unknown, Janelle, it really is a rare quality. I mean, how many people really stick into their comfort zone? I mean, that's a major accomplishment. I definitely want to give you, props for that.
I'm actually looking to keep your fingers crossed. I put my application in, but I'm looking to hopefully be in the training for a CPS position.
Oh, cool.
Certified peer specialist.
Nice.
Position.
Cool. Yeah, definitely keep us.
Hopefully I'll get into the training, but you don't know.
Yeah. That's great. Keep us informed. Keep us posted on how it's going.
Okay, I'll go next. I can't say that, and this is an answer I'm going to have to process. I can't say that I accomplished any more tonight than I have before. I will say this, I'm not at my own apartment. I'm over at my mom's apartment. So but I've done Zooms at remote places before. So this is nothing new. The fact that we had a free form conversation that I was able to stick with and, just kind of ride, go along with the ride. That was fun, but again, it's nothing new. I mean, I'm kind of used to being, in this format. So again, it's something whether, if it's in a obviously I was multitasking, as Jamie was saying, and I was doing some online stuff. I have a TV on, operating a ceiling fan, and at the same time engaging in conversation with you. But I'm used to doing that because I do it all the time. So it's like nothing really, like do I think it's an accomplishment, but it's like really mundane. Take care, Jamie. I really find it mundane because it's like nothing that I haven't done before. It's like I'm doing what I've been doing, what I do all along when I'm on Zoom and in conversation, while at the same time trying to, be present with all of you. So, I mean, I hope that's an acceptable response, but it's not really an easy question to answer.
Sure. What would you like to explore that would be new?
Well, in terms of accomplishments, or
well, you made the observation that it was really nothing new. So I'm curious as to what would be new.
What would be new? Well, I'm just used to being on Zoom, with, having these conversations on Zoom that, Zoom convos, that it's like nothing new. It's not really, I'm not really here to like accomplish anything, it's like I'm used to, I'm just used to, the format and, to being present. Um, um, but maybe perhaps another thing is that perhaps that maybe we got closer together. We got to know each other a little bit more tonight. Maybe that's, get to know one another better. That might be something, new, by being, present with one another,
Huge,
is that especially with us just four, it makes it easier because it's, a lot more intimate, there's only three of us now, but the fact that we were a smaller group, we had a chance to better get to know each other and better affirm the qualities that we each have.
Love it. That's awesome. It's huge. Great. All right. Well, we're at 8:32. Thank you all for this conversation. This was great. We'll just do a quick check out and how you're feeling. I'm checking out feeling very, very accomplished. So, Janelle, John, and Jamie, who will hopefully watch the last couple minutes on recording. Thank you for this. I'm feeling very grateful and very satisfied. Yeah. Very satisfied.
I'm checking out, feeling grateful and feeling good. So for the opportunity to have this time together. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Janelle. And thank you, Jamie, wherever you have room to.
I'm feeling grateful and just grateful and thoughtful after everything that's been said, and it's a great stroke for the ego as well.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Sometimes we need that.
Yeah.
It's needed.
Yeah. But I'm walking away really, and I can't wait for the next one.
Good.
Michael, so yeah.
All right, we'll check out. I'm gonna log off. All right, until next time.